Alright, so with this video here I'm going to show you how to find sample percentiles from a data set. And in order to do that, I'm going to need a data set to work with. So using one of the techniques from a previous video, I'm going to quickly generate some data here. I'm going to enter into the list menu, and then I'm going to go to the sequence function that we looked at. And then I'm going to show you a trick I use to generate data. So underneath the math menu here, there's a section for probability on the very right. The first function there is rand. It stands for random number. So this will generate a random number from 0 to 1. Now, if we want different values from 0 to 1, we have to scale up the random number. So we want to multiply by the largest value that we want to see. So if I want a random set of data from 0 to, say, 100, I'll multiply by 100. And then I will go down into the variable and enter x. The variable is always going to be x, even though our expression doesn't depend on x in any way. Then we're going to start at, say, 1 and go up to 20. So we're going to have, 20 data points. And we're going to go in steps of 1. So every time it steps through from 1 to 20, it's going to call this rand function and generate a new random number and multiply it by 100 and give us a new piece of data. So we're going to paste this sequence function and then store it in one of our lists. So let's put it in list 1, let's say, and hit enter. And alright, so we got some data. Let's go into the stat table, take a look at it. And it does look like we have indeed generated data that doesn't exceed 100. So we have a set of numbers from 0 to 100. Alright, so we want to calculate the sample percentile of this data. Now, there is a quick function for the median that we looked at in a previous video. We can just review real quick. If we go to list, over to math, one of the functions here is the median. So this will allow us to quickly get the median just by entering the list into here and hitting enter. So that's the 50th percentile. And notice we generated random numbers from 0 to 100. If that's truly random, we would expect the median to be around 50. So this is pretty close. We only generated 20 pieces of data. The more we generate, the closer it would get. We'll talk about that more when we get to the law of large numbers. Just something to notice for now. So this is just the 50th percentile. Depending on the problem that you're trying to answer, this might not be good enough. You might have to find an arbitrary percentile. So, for instance, let's say we wanted the 70th percentile of this piece, or of this set of data. In order to find the percentile, you need to order your data set. So we need our data set from smallest to largest. And that is one of the list operations that we can find in the list menu. So if we go over to operations, the first two functions are assorting in ascending and descending order. Now we want ascending. So it's going to start at the smallest and go up to the largest. So I'm going to choose list 1 for this function, hit enter, and if we go back to the table, we'll see it is sorted. Alright, so now that we have our data sorted, if we wanted to find the 70th percentile, what we would do is we would take the number of observations in our data set. Now we know that is 20. But let's say this is just some arbitrary data set we've been given. We could calculate that using one of the functions that we looked at previously, which is dim. That tells us the size of a list. Alright, so that gives us the 20 we were just talking about. So we're going to take the number of observations and multiply by the percentile we want to find. In this case, 70. Alright, so 14. That tells us that the 14th observation is the 70th percentile. So we got to find the 14th observation in this ordered list. So we can access specific elements in a list using parentheses. Whoops. So we type in 14, and that will return the 14th element. And we see that the 70th percentile of our data is 79.8 and some change. So, I hope this was helpful.